how is the Pope elected? Who gets to vote, and what happens in the Sistine Chapel when the conclave is over? That's what we're going to find out today. The first thing you need to know about the Pope is that he is unelected by popular vote. It would be great if people could vote for their favorite cardinal, but it doesn't work like that. In fact, only 300 or so people are eligible to vote for the new Pope. I think these people are called cardinals, and they're selected by popes throughout their papacy. Cardinals can come from all walks of life. Some are priests, some are archbishops, some have never even been ordained. Popes have picked businessmen, scientists, poets, and even a former communist guerrilla as cardinals. But being made a cardinal is an honor. It means you're part of the papal court and you get to wear a really cool hat. And these hats are not for sale. Sorry, but why do they have to wear them? Shh. So now that you know who the cardinals are, let's talk about how they get to pick the next pope. The pope is elected by what's called a papal conclave. This fancy word just means a meeting of cardinals who are eligible to elect a pope. Technically, the College of Cardinals is composed of every cardinal in the Catholic Church, but there are so many that it's hard to get together. So the College of Cardinals also refers to the group of cardinals under 80 years old who are eligible to vote for the next pope. As of February 2023, there were 224 voting members of the College of Cardinals. When the current pope dies or resigns, the cardinals gather in the Vatican. They elect a cardinal to be the Camerlengo, kind of like a speaker of the conclave, and he picks a date to start the voting. Voting begins on the morning of the second Thursday after the seat of the papacy becomes vacant. Each cardinal enters the Sistine Chapel separately and takes an oath to keep secret all that goes on inside the chapel. This vow of secrecy extends even to what they say in their tweets. After the cardinals are sworn to secrecy, they take their seats in the chapel and a Swiss guardsman close the doors behind them. The cardinals continue to sit in the chapel until they reach a decision. They don't go out for food, although meals are brought in for them. They don't go to the bathroom. They don't shower. They don't talk to anyone. They don't read anything. They stay in the chapel locked up until they have a new pope. Once inside the Sistine Chapel, the cardinals proceed with the election of the pope. First, each cardinal writes his name on a piece of paper and folds it up before putting it in a container. The names are then collected, put into a larger container and mixed around. Then the cardinals line up and take turns drawing a piece of paper from the container. They read the name out loud and place the paper either on a red or white cloth. If they draw a red cloth, that candidate has gotten 2 votes. The ballots are then taken out, counted, and sealed away for safekeeping. Once all the ballots are read, the cardinals meet in a general congregation to discuss the results and see if anyone has gotten a majority of the votes. If no one got a majority, the process starts again the next day. If a cardinal dies during the conclave, the body is removed through a secret passageway used only by the Swiss Guard. That secret passageway is over 500 years old. It's still used today to move the ballots from the chapel to the room where they're counted. But if a cardinal dies during the conclave, the cardinals must first close the coffin in the chapel, place it in the middle of the room, and pause for a moment of prayer. Only then is the coffin moved out of the chapel through that secret passageway and taken to the Vatican's crypt, where it will eventually be buried. They'll wait until after the conclave is finished to bury him because they don't want to stop voting. It can take several rounds of voting to find a new pope. In 1276, it took 4 rounds to elect Pope Gregory X, but sometimes it can take weeks or even months to decide. In 1404, the conclave deadlocked between 2 candidates and eventually led to the Western Schism when a different group of cardinals elected a 3rd pope. It was only after a council of church leaders met up that they decided to split up Europe into 3 regions, each controlled by one of the 3 popes. Not exactly a fan of that outcome. Once a candidate gets a majority of the votes, though, things move fast. He is announced as the new pope, given the traditional red hat and biretta, along with a ring that will identify him as pope. Sometimes the new pope chooses a new name at this point, too. He then gives the Camerlengo a ring to keep in a safe location until the new pope arrives. That way, if any other cardinals try to claim they were elected pope, they can prove that that didn't happen. That's also what happened in 1377 when Urban VI became pope. His predecessor had died a month earlier, and the conclave was held in the summer. But it was so hot that mice gnawed through the ballots and destroyed almost half of them. Still, they were able to count enough ballots to declare Urban VI the winner, thanks to the rings that proved that the other candidates weren't pope. After the new pope is chosen, he has to travel to the main basilica to show the world he's okay. When the smoke clears from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel, It's a signal for the crowd gathered outside to cheer or boo the choice. But the new pope usually stays hidden in the chapel for hours, while his team prepares him for his new role. They help him choose vestments and a crozier to walk with. But the most important thing they do is make sure he understands he's not allowed to back out now. Once you're elected pope, there's no turning back. And yes, that includes you, Pope Gregory. That's right. He was once elected pope. He accepted the position, took on the name Gregory VIII, and showed up for his coronation. But after he arrived at St. Peter's Basilica, he had a change of heart. Gregory VIII refused to accept the throne, probably because it meant he couldn't eat lunch. After sitting in the chair of St. Peter for 2 days, he left and returned to his old life as a cardinal. It's the only time in history that someone has been elected pope and refused the job. But here's another fun fact. No one knows what the smoke on top of the chapel means. There's a metal tube leading from the chapel's chimney to a stove in a nearby building. Black smoke comes out of that pipe when a candidate does not win the necessary amount of votes. White smoke comes out when a candidate wins. But there's no chemical reaction that makes the smoke white. There's no way for us to know exactly what the smoke color means. It's completely up to interpretation. But we can't even trust our eyes to tell us that. In 1978, a reporter saw black smoke coming from the chimney and reported that Cardinal Montaigne had died. But black smoke was seen because of a faulty connection between the chimney and the stove. The cardinal went on to become Pope John Paul I, but he didn't last long, dying of a heart attack only 33 days later. Speaking of chimneys, do you remember all those stories about chimneys on houses? How they were built with flues so that the smoke from fireplaces could leave the house without poisoning the family inside? Well, chimneys are still used today to clear the air from the Sistine Chapel, except now they send out reports instead of smoke. Thanks to technology, the church can share updates on the election via Twitter. Now, before the internet, word of the new pope would spread via word of mouth. People would stand outside waiting for cardinals to emerge from the chapel. And if they looked happy, that meant a new pope had been elected. All this secrecy and tradition surrounding the conclave might seem silly. Why can't we just hold a free election and let everyone vote for who they think should be pope? But the truth is, these rules help keep the peace. All around the world, millions of Catholics anxiously await the announcement of the new pope. When the smoke clears, the world watches to hear who the next leader of the church will be. Allowing cardinals to vote freely without public pressure ensures that the new pope isn't elected based on popularity, but rather on his qualifications to lead the church. If you enjoyed learning about the secret ways the pope is elected, be sure to check out more videos like this one. We've got everything from the history of poisonous toilets to the surprisingly violent way presidents are elected in the US. Don't forget to subscribe, so you're notified every time something new is posted.